Um, I'll start over. Welcome, everybody, and it's great to see you all here today. And thanks for making time in your, I know, busy schedules for this additional meeting to finalize our important work. One just quick announcement. I don't want to take up any time. We have too much work to do, but on Monday, the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force / they are also the Whatcom County Law and Justice Committee by state statute. They endorsed the needs assessment unanimously. The vote was unanimous. And they even left it up to the motion read as ultimately approved by the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. So they're giving us that little leap of faith into today's meeting that we're going to come out with a plan that they really support. So that's a brilliant indication of great work, getting that kind of an endorsement that's unanimous. So again, great work, and I'll turn it back over to Holly.
Great. Thanks, Barry. Thanks for your excellent sharing throughout this whole process. It's been amazing. And here we are in meeting number 10. We've been doing this for a year, my friends, a year. And I think that the year of work really shows. We have some beautiful work here. So if Kathy, you could pop open the PowerPoint, I'm just going to go through some preliminary slides to get us started. And I appreciate that people are putting their cameras up today. That's really nice. And making sure everybody's got their name dialed in there. That'll help too. Okay, next slide. Let's get started. Click. Here we are. This is the exciting news that Barry just shared and their confidence in us. Oop, back one, I think. Okay, here we are. So we are on this additional meeting number 10 because we had a couple more amendments to deal with and on the 19th. And then we have a couple more added today for your consideration. So next slide. Just a reminder of our purpose. And again, want to really appreciate the IPRTF and everybody who's been supporting this process. And our goal is on this preparing a report, presenting our recommendations for county council. So that's what we're here to try and do. It will set up then for both the November 2023 ballot and a lot of other work that is going to be the result of our work today. Next slide. Okay, the agenda for today will confirm quorum and our voting procedure. Just do a quick review of where we left off. We're going to vote on the proposed amendments, vote on the needs report with including those approved amendments. And then we'll talk about the implementation plan. So of course, you know, there's the larger body of work, and then what is actually going to be the first steps to put it on the ground. And then we'll have some time, hopefully, to just reflect on our good work. So, because this is our last meeting. Okay, next slide. So decision-making process. We did have a number of amendments that were submitted by the deadline on January 20th. The SAC member who proposed the amendment makes the motion to amend. I'll ask for a second. If there's not a second, we can discuss the motion further. If there is a second, the SAC member who proposed the amendment can provide their reasoning. And I will keep really tight on time today, everybody, just so you know. Usually I give a little wiggle room. There's actually not going to be wiggle room today. So I need everybody to work with me on this. So up to 3 minutes total. Having heard the argument for, I will ask if anyone wants to speak against the amendment, and up to 2 people will be invited to speak. 4 minutes total. Again, I'm going to be really strict on time, and I'm going to call for a vote because we have basically an hour's worth of content to get through. So we have to, I expect you to be here with me to make this happen. So that's the process. Next slide. All right, so we did go back through, Kristen had just asked, if you may remember at our last meeting, like how'd we end up with quorum? So it turns out that the quorum is still 12. And that we do have a quorum here today. How many folks do we have right now?
We have 22.
I'm sorry?
I believe we have 22, but we still have an SAC member unnamed.
Okay. Hey, SAC member who's unnamed, could you take care of that, please? Great. So we have 22. You guys rock. Thank you for all showing up.
I'm showing 24 plus an unnamed, just so. But Bill and Doug share a seat, but it was still 24 is what I've got, but we are past a quorum, so that's awesome.
Great. Okay. And you guys will just, if we have to slow down and make sure we got our count right, we will. So a motion passes with 50% plus one of the people in attendance. So that is important to know. Next slide. All right, you guys all remember this. Most important, you have to stay on topic and keep to the point. If you, especially when we're doing the amendments, if you go off topic, I'm actually going to interrupt you and call on someone else, because you can't on an amendment, you have to stick on the amendment, okay? Avoiding repeating ideas is really important. So a lot of you have come to the table and you said, you know, really important stuff today, but we don't want to be repeating material. We want to keep this thing moving and stay in the room. Again, if your full attention is here, our meeting will go better. Okay, next slide. So where we left off, here we go. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. First, there was a motion to approve the Justice Needs Assessment Report to present to County Council. The motion was made by Scott, seconded by Paul, and that was on the January 19th. So that is like that's the beginning point of today's work. That's where everything lands and is centered. So we'll come back to this at the end of our meeting, because this is what we will be voting on ultimately. Then we took some amendments, and thank you for those folks who did get stuff in by the first deadline, which we didn't make a hard deadline. So we adjusted that for this time. And these were the amendments we made. Beautiful job here on service goal number 10. We're going to just go through these, just so you can see that we got a lot done at our last meeting. That one had been bugging us for forever. And we came to unity. I felt so happy, so proud. Then we made some changes on the recommendations, A4-1 and A4 recommendation 3. Next slide. Oh, we cleaned up the need too. We added with dignity on the need of C1 and added some funding options on C3 recommendations. So that was just really good work that you all did. Next slide. Okay, now here we are, present time. We're going to look at the proposed amendments. I'm going to take them in the order they were received, with one exception, because I think who has to go early? Peter. You had to go early. So actually,
I will be able to stay for the whole meeting. So don't change anything on my account.
That is great. Peter, thank you so much. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and take the first one. Is everybody clear what we're doing, where we are? All right, here they are then. We'll take RB first. Then we'll jump to then I will honor the original order. We'll take Michael's second, Peter's third, Kristen, you'll be fourth, and Atul will be last with 2 amendments proposed. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 amendments, 10 minutes each. You guys got it? That's 1 hour, 10 minutes each. All right, here we go. Here we go. So again, the process goes, RB, you'll go ahead and make the motion. I'll call for a second, and then we'll see where we go. RB, you have the floor.
Didn't we already have a motion and a second at our last meeting for this?
We might have. Will you just do it again?
We did.
I'm happy to. Yes, I make the motion that we strike the portion of answer 3 recommendation 1 where we strike adhering to court rule CRR 3.2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The floor is open, and I will take first from RB to within 3 minutes, please, to describe your rationale.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I don't need to rehash over this. I know we're under a tight time frame today, but what I did want to add to some of the comments that were added to my comments was that there's nothing in this change that would indicate we're suggesting not to follow the rules. I'm simply saying that adding this late addition, this qualifying statement of adhering to a court rule has a way of diluting the effect of this recommendation. It causes confusion in the public. But I think it's really important to note, so again, we're not advocating breaking any rules, but it's also important to note, I think we're all in agreement. If someone needs to be in jail, they need to be in jail. What I'm suggesting is how much money they have in their bank account or their pocket should have no bearing on that pretrial incarceration decision. So I think we should take a hard look if we want to reduce the jail population. 98%, I believe, was the number of people currently in our jail are pretrial. So again, I'm not going to belabor the point. I just think we should do away with this and look for other options in lieu of cash money bail. Thank you.
Thank you, Arby. Really appreciate it. All right, so we'll hear up to 2 comments. And I'd like for people who would like to speak against the amendment, so we can kind of hear the breadth. So is there anyone who would like to speak against the proposed amendment? Yeah, Kendra.
Just a quick question. What would be the difference if you kept that adhering to court rule CR 3.2 in there? Because I question if you don't have that in there, that it's such a broad general spectrum that you can say anything you want as pertaining to what this statement is. So explain to me what the difference would be with it in and with it out. It's more of a question.
Thank you.
I think the burden of proof on that would be on the people who added it. I mean, this was a statement that was already in about reducing the jail population. It's also, by the way, something that the county was informed of over 5 years ago by the Vera Institute. We were told that ending cash bail is what's considered best practice. So I just think, like I said, it causes confusion in this recommendation with the public.
Thank you. Okay, what I'm hoping for is that either Michael, there was a question for clarification. Michael, can you answer? Do you feel you can answer it? Go
Well,
ahead,
I think so. Embedded in Court Rule 3.2 are 2 ideas which are in tension, and we've never unpacked them. It includes both the presumption that people should be released on personal recognizance and an endorsement of the cash bail process. We have never actually vetted those issues. And so by simply referring to this, we're actually invoking a great deal of subject matter which has not been debated. So I think that the reason not to include this is because it actually says several different things at the same time, none of which we have agreed to reach a consensus on. So I'm not sure that quite answers Kendra's question, but this isn't a reference to one simple law and one simple idea. It's a reference to several ideas linked together.
Thank you. All right. And we have 2 minutes left for discussion. Scott, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think I'll speak against it in that if there's a rule out there and there's a rule that we abide by, I guess I don't see any harm in leaving the rule in the text, because I'm going to assume some judge knows the rule and he's going to follow it anyway. So I guess I would like the public to know there's a rule out there.
Okay. Good deal. Okay, I said that, well, I'm actually going to follow the time versus the numbers of speakers because you guys are doing such a good job on being succinct. So I will invite for any other speaker because you have been succinct. Okay. Hearing no more discussion, I've got a couple, now we're going to do a process moment here. I have at least 1 SAC member who still hasn't renamed themselves. I need you to remain 2. Folks, I need you to rename yourselves before we can continue. So could you please do that now? Or you could turn on your camera and we could help you with that. But until we get you your name, we can't proceed. Or I guess we just don't count their votes. I don't know what to do. Kathy, what do I do now?
If they're not named and I can't see who the participant is, their vote will not be counted.
Okay, so SAC members who haven't renamed yourself and your screen is not up, we can't include you in the vote. All right, so let's go back if we could, please. Oop, and that was our time. Ding. let's go back on to lift up the screen, please, for the original motion or amendment, sorry. Okay, so the proposed amendment, which was moved and seconded and then discussed, is to remove the final line adhering to court rule CR 3.2, and the final language would read, provide a range of pretrial release and monitoring options in lieu of bail. So if you're in favor of that change, of that amendment, please raise your hand now. And we'll wait till we have a count. And then Kathy will take all your hands down. So make sure that if you're in favor, your hand is now up. And I'll wait for Marty. or
Holly,
Kathy.
remind people to use the raise hand function because somebody is raising their hand. So we need you to raise your hand function so it can be counted in the record.
Got it. Thanks. Thanks, Barry. Everybody, is there anyone who needs help finding their hand button? Okay. As soon as we have a count. Marty or Kathy?
We have 11 in favor.
11 in favor. Okay. And go ahead and put your hand down. Or Kathy's taking your hand down. Sorry, you don't do anything. we have this all mechanized now. So
That's
Thank-
11 of 29 named voters.
okay.
So that's
And
not
all
a
those-
pass.
yeah. So what are you saying, Marty?
Call for no's.
Call for no's. Thank you, Barry. So we'll go ahead. All those opposed, please raise your hand.
$15.
15 opposed. All righty, and wait for a moment. Kathy's going to lower your hand for you. All right, and any abstentions? And I see one abstention. Okay. So I believe then the vote on this amendment is that the amendment does not pass, and the original language stays the same. Check. Okay. Barry, is there anything else I needed to say at the closure?
Nope, you got it.
Okay, thanks. All right, gang. First one done on time. Here we go. Second one. We are now on to, oh, I'm sorry. I said I would take Michael first. So let's jump to Michael's because I originally said we were going to take him in order. Michael, you're up.
Sure, this is simply adding a recommendation to make sure a very important thing is not overlooked. Currently, Rec 1 says that we should build a new jail that meets as many specific criteria as possible. And I am afraid that might be.
Hang on, whoop, whoop. All you do is you make the motion. Then I
Okay.
have the second, then you do the rationale.
Done. I move.
Okay, everybody see it on the screen. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Great, thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded. Go ahead, Michael.
Sure. As I was saying, that first recommendation makes it sound like you just need to try to hit as many the criteria as possible, equally considered. But I don't think that's actually the case, in particular when it has to do with the location criteria. On page 63 of the needs assessment, our draft needs assessment, it shows that some proximity criteria were supported by 86% of people, proximity to bus lines, whereas others were ranked as important as only by 35%, proximity to freeway entrance. So in other words, the location criteria are very different. And so I think it's important because we really, and this is one of the most important decisions that's going to be made, is where to cite this thing. We need to at least indicate that there are different rankings of importance so that decision makers will actually look at that information.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Okay, so now we'll hear if there are any voices against this amendment. Bill, go ahead. And you're muted.
I'm sorry. My only concern with Councilmember Lilliquist's motion is that there's just very limited sites within the county where something like this could be constructed and may limit options. And and delay implementation. So for that reason, I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Arlene?
I felt confused by this point. I didn't quite understand it because the list of importance issues didn't include the estimated costs of the project, which seems logical that that would be also an important criteria, but it wasn't really in the list of important. So then I felt confused about this putting extra weight on certain issues.
Thank you, Arlene. Michael?
Recommendation 2 is all about cost. It's not going to be neglected. Recommendation 3 is about location. So cost is already part of the recommendations, but also I think that the relative importance of the factors on location is also important. So yes, cost, yes, all the criteria, and yes to location considerations. I think this actually completes the set of recommendations. It doesn't shift it towards one, it makes sure that all those aspects are included together.
Thank you. Atul?
Yeah, I support this amendment for that exact, I was going to make that same point, so I won't speak.
Thank you, Atul. Satpal?
I think that since 85% of the people did make a vote on that it should be accessible by the bus, which is actually very critical and can be accomplished. And it solves a lot of issues which we had 10, 15 years ago. And to me, that criteria allows the decision makers to have a little more freedom to make the final decision. Thank you.
Thanks. So due consideration of the comparative importance assigned to proximity. And that comes from a list within that we already worked on. Yeah, Cliff?
I guess I'm just concerned that this is what the public thinks, but what do the agencies that are going to be using it think? And so this, if we go by this, we get what the public input, but a lot of times the public doesn't know some of the other considerations. So I'm going to vote opposed.
Thank you. Atul?
Since I didn't have anything to say last time, I just will say that, being on the bus is not identical to being at the same site. There's all kinds of impediments to getting on and off the bus for many people that are in the facilities. So I just wanted to make clear is that there are some people that are not allowed to use the buses, so or find it impossible to use a bus. So I just want to bring that up as an important point.
Thank you. Okay, and Bill, go ahead. And you're muted. Bill, you're
In
muted.
light of Satpal's comments, I withdraw my objection. His office is going to have to find the location, so I'm good.
Okay, and that's that time. All right, thank you for your discussion. We're now moving on to calling for the vote. So the proposed amendment, as you saw it on the screen, is about the due consideration. Select a location for the jail with due consideration of the comparative importance assigned to proximity to various resources and services. And we can take down that screen and we'll have everybody raise your hand button if you are in favor of that amendment. And keep your hand up until we tell you otherwise. Okay, we'll wait for the count.
26, 27.
27 in favor. All right, Kathy, you can go ahead and remove everybody's hands. All right, then raise your hand if you're if you are opposed to the amendment. I see one. Thank you. We can lower that hand. And now any abstentions? And one abstention. Great. All right, the motion carries for that amendment. Thank you all. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to move on. And I think you got it. All right, Peter, I would invite you to move your amendment.
So I'd like to make a motion to add a new bullet point to need C1, and it would read size to assure booking restrictions in the county and its cities will not occur.
Second.
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. The floor is open for discussion. I'm starting the timer. Again, as long as we're within time, we're good. So anyone would like to speak in opposition? That we always start with. Oh, I'm sorry. I blew it. Peter, you go first. My mistake.
Yes, I'm just going to read my rationale that I submitted.
Yes, please.
Okay. Our community has done a great deal of work to divert people from jail through the ART, GRACE, LEAD, the Crisis Stabilization Center, and well upstream, the Children's Initiative. In addition, local law enforcement is currently using alternatives to physical arrest and booking when possible. Our committee's work product provides a roadmap for more efforts in jail diversion in the near future. However, it is just as important that we build a facility with enough capacity to assure that the booking restrictions destabilizing our community come to an end. Booking restrictions are unfair to victims of crime and decrease public safety by tying the hands of our community, disabling us from holding people accountable when we find it necessary. In addition, ending booking restrictions would allow local law enforcement to comply with orders of the court, commanding them to take specific persons into custody.
Thank you very much. All right, so the floor is now open for discussion. We appreciate first people speaking in opposition so we can hear the counter. Bill, did you have your hand up? And I think
Oh, I accidentally hit the button. I apologize.
No worries. Okay, would anyone like to speak in contrary to this proposed amendment? Yeah, Kristen. And I think you're muted as well. Okay.
I'm actually not against the amendment in principle, but I am hoping to add my suggestion that it would be sized and operated to assure booking restrictions will not occur. I think, it's not just a matter of size here. And we've been doing a lot of talking all year about the way that the jail's operated and how people are moved through the jail and whatnot. So I really do support the idea that booking restrictions should not even be a thing in our county at all. But it's not just a matter of jail size, it's a matter of what we do right away when people get put in there. So if we also add operations, I think it makes the priority here a little bit more well-rounded. So
we can ask Peter if he would accept that.
Okay, Peter, would you like to accept that amendment?
I would.
All right.
Would the seconder of the motion accept it as well, Mr. Lillquist?
I would, but as a point of order, that's actually not how you follow Robert's rules.
Michael, are you asking the parliamentarian to weigh in, or are you just?
No, I'm telling you that after a motion is on the table, the original mover and seconder have no special priority over amendments.
Michael is correct, but sometimes bodies operate on a friendly amendment kind of principle. We can certainly go to Michael's preference, which would be we need to move a specific amendment and have that amendment seconded. and then that amendment voted on separately. That's how Roberts would call it out specifically.
Another way is the presiding officer can say, are there any objections? And that's considered a unanimous vote. And again, the motion isn't privileged anymore. I don't have special say, so there's no reason to come to me to ask. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So that was really, I really appreciate that attention to detail of our process. So now what we're looking at, and Marty, were you going to work on pulling up a doc version in case this happened, right? So basically,
I can do that. Mhm.
great. But I think it was clear enough. We can just run with sized and operated is the new language. So that's what is the amendment that we're looking at right now. All right, Atul, you're up. And I gotta watch our time. Go ahead.
I agree. That's all I have to say.
Great.
I think
thanks.
what Michael was saying is right now, I think now is when you would ask for, are there any objections to that? Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, you basically have to vote on the amendment to the amendment, but the quickest way to vote on anything is to say, are there any objections? And if there are none, it's considered a vote.
For an amendment on an amendment, Michael, you're speaking.
Actually,
as-
for every motion, you can do it that way.
Okay. What I'd like to do right now is stick with our process, which is to hear if there's any other discussion on the amendment that is now on your screen. That is what we're doing now. And Atul, I think you made your comment, right? Okay, Bro, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm wondering if the addition of the word operated would also then could be interpreted as far as if the, sorry, how do I say this? I'm jumbled. Like the 23-in-1 book. I don't know if you would consider that a booking restriction, but the fact that so many people are kept in their jail cells for 23 hours a day. I'm wondering if that would be considered a booking restriction or if that's something separate. And if so, would the word operate then sort of encompass that as well?
Yeah, Bill, can you
I
respond?
was just going to add an answer to that question. Booking restrictions are defined by our inability to take certain category of offenders through the front door of the jail. So it doesn't affect how they're maintained while they're in there.
Okay. Great. We have about a minute, not quite a minute left. Any further discussion on the motion that you're seeing on your screen? Yeah, Stephen?
I understand the spirit of this and share it. I don't see how this is a realistic recommendation. There's no way we could have predicted COVID and the restrictions that basically had to occur by emergency public health requirements, and there are the possibilities of equipment failures even in a new jail. There are just too many unpredictable things to make this as absolutist as the wording right now indicates.
Thank you. Okay, and we're at time. So thank you for the discussion. I'm going to restate the motion as amended. So to C1, we would add a new bullet to the need, being sized and operated to assure booking restrictions in the county and its cities will not occur. We'll go ahead and put down the screen, please, and please raise your hand button if you agree with that proposed amendment.
We have 23.
Okay, we have 23 in favor. Thank you, everybody. Kathy will take your hands down for you. And
There's
okay, so now we're on the opposed. So please raise your hand if you're if you are in opposition to the amendment. 6. Okay, Marty, do you have a count for that? I think I see 6 on the
It-
screen.
It says 6, but I'm only seeing 4 people with their hands raised. Why is that?
I can see 6. So I
Okay,
think 6
good.
depends.
6.
Great. Kathy, go ahead and put their hands down, please.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. And any abstentions? All right, and no abstentions. The motion carries. All right, we have our next amendment done. Let's keep going.
We don't have it done, Holly. We have to now vote on the amendment because we have just voted on the amendment to the amendment.
Not what
Okay.
she said.
I
She said we were going to move on to the next amendment.
we need to go backwards. Barry?
No, what we did is we just amended the amendment, right?
And then
No,
we voted on the whole thing. We voted
Right.
on the amended amendment.
right.
I was confused too.
It
No,
was
that's,
read out loud. Oh,
So I read out loud the amended amendment. And then
That's
that's what we voted on. So do we need to go back and do something differently? Barry?
typically when you have an amendment, that's an amendment upon an amendment, you have to vote on that first, the amendment to the amendment. And then it's just like when you do an amendment, then you have to vote on the main motion. It's the same concept. But if the group is willing to argue that we pass it, I'm fine with it.
Okay, are there any objections to moving forward with the understanding that we have just voted affirmatively to approve the amended amendment? Hearing none, thank you, and we'll move on. And Barry will slow down if that happens again, and I'll make sure we're doing it. Just yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. All right, next one. And let's bring up the screen, please. See the next one. I can't wait. Here we go. Oh, A1 recommendation 2, the Kristen. would you
okay.
make the motion?
Here I'm moving to change my recommended amendment, so I'm seeking some guidance on how to do that. I would just like to go to Perry's suggestion, which would be to amend it to sized and operated to assure booking. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. That's not it. That's not it. Perry, where is it? Perry, explore and develop outpatient competency restoration services. So
Kathy, if you take this down, I've got that on another screen and folks can see it. Thank you.
all right. Sorry about that mix up.
It's okay. It's all good. All right, so that's the motion that's on the floor. Kristen is the person making the motion, and this is the one she would like to make. So do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Atul. It's been moved and seconded. Kristen, go ahead and share your thinking if you would, please.
Okay, so the way that it read before was just the kind of a negative way of saying outpatient. It was saying an alternative to inpatient. And the way it read before, it was limiting this restoration service to just felons, low-level felons. And so to be more inclusive, I suggested that we remove that restriction to allow for misdemeanors, and thus considering the city courts that don't even deal with felonies, but still have the occasional issue of competency restoration. So it's just more inclusive, in line with what we've been doing this year, which is striving towards inclusiveness. So I'm hoping that this clarification will pass.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. All right, the floor is now open. I'm setting the timer. We'll have up to 4 minutes for discussion. I'd love to hear if people have, first, if they have opposition to this. Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Marty, there's another slide up there that talked about restoration services. Can you put that back up, please?
Is that what you're referring to? The original?
Yeah, I just wonder about taking out the inpatient or outpatient competency restoration. I serve on a group that is working on this issue, and we're looking at all types of different alternatives. And so I don't know if being very super specific on the inpatient or outpatient is necessary. So just explore and develop alternatives to competency restoration for incarcerated individuals would be adequate in my view.
I just want to remind you that this is the second recommendation to address the need. And the first recommendation is work with regional partners to identify needed system changes, policies, funding, and programs to increase access to inpatient competency restoration. Maybe.
So what, there is a recommendation that addresses inpatient, and then this one addresses outpatient in the communities.
Okay.
Are you talking about, though, an inpatient in the community, or are you talking inpatient at Western State? Maybe Perry can elaborate a little bit more, but I believe that the first recommendation did address the inpatient, and then this one addressed alternatives to inpatient, which is outpatient.
Okay, so it's additive then to the inpatient.
I'm satisfied that it is.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fine then.
Perry might be more familiar with.
No, let's hold on, because I think actually, can we go back and pop up the screen, Marty, with the other one? So I don't think we need to go backwards. I think that Dan's question has been resolved. We don't need to continue to discuss it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, it was a clarification. I think that clarification has been resolved. So now we're back on the proposal that's on the floor, which we're going to see that one in a minute. Explore and develop outpatient competency restoration services. So is there any further discussion on this proposed amendment? Yes, Arlene.
I have a question. Excuse my ignorance on this issue, but maybe one of you can explain to me. I've never heard of outpatient competency restoration. Usually these are people who are not able to appear in court. And I can't, it's hard for me to imagine, how do you do outpatient services?
Thank you. Perry, it looks like you have a reply to that.
I think I can respond. We've actually done some research, Arlene, that there are outpatient competency restoration programs in a number of the counties as part of the True Blood process and funding. And they are individuals that I think there's a number of steps that actually need to occur, but they are in need of competency restoration. And that is actually accomplished in an outpatient setting. And then they're closely monitored by the court, and that in that process, the intent being that they are informed in terms of the charge and develop the ability to assist in their own defense. And it is done in an outpatient setting.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Stark, yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, Western State Hospital is not to any significant degree even accepting people who are not in custody. They will not even give you an estimated bed date for someone who is not incarcerated for when they can get in there for restoration services. So people who are not in custody that have had their proceedings stayed are basically in this unending limbo unless and until outpatient competency restoration can be developed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great, we're out of time on our discussion. Thank you all for your contributions. So we're going to go ahead and vote on the motion. If you're in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand to indicate your support. Keep them up.
Looks like we're at 26.
Okay.
27.
27, great. Okay, you don't have to do anything. Kathy's going to take down your hand for you. All right, all those opposed, please put your hand up. And any abstentions, please put your hand up. All right, the amendment carries. Thank you. Okay, we're on to our next one. You guys are doing great. All righty, so Atul, we're going to do the B2 now, and you just go ahead. I'll entertain a motion and we'll see if we have a second.
You want me to introduce it?
Nope, you do that after the second.
Okay.
So you just say, I motion to approve.
I motion to approve this amendment to the needs and recommendations.
B2, yep. Great. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, Brella seconded the motion. The floor is now open. We start with Atul to give his rationale. Go ahead, Atul.
So there's two parts. There's the statement of the recommendation that's already there, which is B2. They ensure stable funding to expansion of the programs. What I've done is I've taken the approach that was taken for A4 in our last meeting, and that is to break out the recommendations into three categories to address root cause, the collection of adequate data by those in the jail incarceration system, and then thirdly, accountability and traceability to actions taken to support diversion. It's the same kind of a improved definition of the three areas: analysis, data collection, and follow-up action that we did in recommendation A4 in our last meeting. That's what I'm trying to do, just clarify. Thanks.
Thank you, Atul. All right, the floor is open for discussion. We'll start with hearing any reasons against the proposed amendment and then see where we go. We have 4 minutes. Go ahead. Michael, you're up.
I speak against the motion because I don't think it actually is a substitute. The original recommendation talks about stable funding, actually providing the resources to do the work. The new recommendations, the first one talks about analysis and research, the second one talks about data, and the third one talks about data. None of them talk about funding, and none of them talk about, so I mean, I think they're not even equivalent. So it's not that the new recommendations are bad, they just aren't an equivalent recommendation, and we would lose a great deal if we dropped the current Rec 1.
Thank you, Michael. Harriet?
I agree with Michael and also want to point out that finding out what the root causes of incarceration are doesn't necessarily lead to strategies that increase diversion. It's in my brain kind of a non sequitur. So while I appreciate the kind of global thought that went into this, I think it's just not good right here.
Yeah, I guess to Michael's point, I'm wondering if there's anybody that is more familiar than I am with the needs and recommendations section. If there's a way up an area where this might be more appropriate to put in, yeah, wondering if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, Cliff. I think you're muted.
Oh, okay, is that better?
Yeah, thanks.
We're trying to get a facility built and we keep adding stuff that's going to make it more and more expensive when we put it out to the public. I'm just concerned about the cost that we keep adding.
Thank you, Cliff. All right, Atul.
So I appreciate the comments from Harriet and Michael, and I think that if I had sufficient time, I could address both of those, but I don't have sufficient time, quite honestly. So recognizing that, I think that if there's a quick and easy way that someone can revise this appropriately to address this issue of addressing root cause analysis, because root cause analysis is what one must do to be able to systemically address diversion. And this, you know, when you ask the question in the right way and the solution becomes very transparent. And so that's the reason that I think root cause analysis is very important. And I just wanted to try to address that. And then making sure that the data needed to support root cause analysis is being collected. But having said that, I don't have a quick and easy way to address Michael and Harriet's concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Atul. Michael? You're muted.
Sorry, these are seem to be like system recommendations, but they're in the services section.
Yeah. So, bro, go ahead.
Michael, do you see, it seems like you're more familiar with the structure of this. Do you see anywhere that this might be appropriate to put in the system section?
I can't find the document. I've been looking around trying to find it. So no, I assume it should be moved upward into the section A, but I don't have that in front of me.
And we are just about out of time. That was it. Okay. So,
so if it's easier, I'll just withdraw it.
Is that okay? I mean, Barry, help. Can he just withdraw it?
No, you can't, because the motion belongs to the body now after a second. So we can't, we would have to go ahead and go through the process.
But that was really gracious, Atul. Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote. All right, all those in favor of the amendment, raise your hands. Raise your hand, budget. Okay, I see 2, 3, 4.
Oh, no.
Sure, I should vote for my own amendment.
3, I see 3. Okay, Kathy, you can put the hands down. Those opposed to the amendment, please raise your hand. We'll wait for a count.
$24.
24. Hands down by Kathy. Great. And any abstentions, raise your hand. Great. Okay. So the amendment does not pass. Thank you, Atul, for bringing it to the floor. And we got one more to go, team.
And so now that I've proven that I'm a gracious loser, I make a new amendment, creating a need B6, and that, you know, one of the things with this process that for me it's been interesting is to recognize the importance of having a competing interest outside the
motion and a second.
Okay.
Thank you. You've got a motion and a second. And so, yeah. Atul, I'm hearing you'd like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to address this new need, B6.
Okay, so a new B6 need, and Marty, can you show or whoever's on the slideshow? So we're going to take these as one fell swoop. So a new B6 need and and related recommendations, because they came as a package. So the motion is on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, hearing none, the motion is not accepted by the body. But thank you, Atul, for bringing it forward. And you guys, we made it all the way through our motions, all our amendments. That was awesome. And I think it brought up a lot of good conversation too. All right, we're on to the needs assessment report. I'm going to need some assistance when we go into this. Kathy or Marty, which of the amendments, I should have been writing them down. I was just writing counts of which amendments actually were approved. So can you help me with that?
Sure.
I know, right? Should have been writing them down.
I can. So we had, do you want me to read them, or it was an amendment to C1 recommendation 3 that Michael put forward. And we had also the recommendation C1 new bullet that Peter put forward, passed. And
the amendment.
Amendment. And Kristen had the revised amendment about outpatient competency restoration.
Yep.
That was also approved.
Okay, so we had those 3 approved today. Good work. And then the ones that we approved on the 19th. So now where we are right now in our process is we're voting on the entire needs assessment with all of those amendments now accepted. Got it? All approved. So here's where we are right now. Brill, is this a process question?
It is. Sorry if I just blanked out, but what happened with the B6 addition? Did that just get dropped?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh shoot. Okay. All right.
It's okay. These ideas don't disappear. Trust me. Okay, here we go. The motion on the table is to approve the Justice Project Needs Assessment Report to present to County Council. It was the motion was made by Scott, seconded by Paul, and that is the motion on the floor with, as I said before, the amendments that have been approved. So next slide, please. So we'll take about 5 minutes to discuss the motion. I'm going to keep tight on time, then I will call for the vote. And same thing we've been doing before with the motions passing at 50% plus 1 of people in attendance. And I do want to just make a comment that a vote to approve the report does not mean that you agree with every single word in the report, right? It's a huge body of work. And so we acknowledge that we have some differences of opinion, but as a whole, so if you vote in favor of the report, you're saying that as a whole, I do support this report going forward. Okay, so I'm going to set the timer. And we are on. Yeah, Michael.
I will be voting in favor, but with sadness. I love everything that's in there, but I am worried about a huge, glaring, regrettable omission. If you do a quick word search, you will not find the word funding or spending or anything having to do with the allocation of resources to these problems. It's been brought up several times. Look at all the things we recommended. How the heck do you pay for it? And I think we failed to address that issue. Now, I don't think we need to come up with the exact spending scheme, but I think there needs to be guidance. And I think the guidance is basically that there needs to be proportionate funding for all these needs. And what that proportionality is, that's going to be a judgment call. But if we come up with a funding mechanism for next November that addresses 1 or 2 or 3 of these recommendations, that is building a jail, and fails to address the others, what the heck? So, I mean, we have just simply not even talked about the funding issue in this report. So, oh well, the county government, the decision makers will have to take that up, but we haven't done that part for them. And I'm pretty sure it would have been good if we had included some kind of allocation formula, some kind of indication of rough proportionality or equality of efforts. I would like to see a great deal of money, more than ever before, go into behavioral health and prevention and reentry support. I'd also like to see a fair amount of money going to make a safe, humane jail. We just haven't talked about funding. I wonder if that's a mistake on our part and it's too late to fix it.
So Thank you, Michael. So the next part of our agenda after we approve the report is to talk about the implementation plan, which a lot of that is about funding. So I would like to ask that we do not, that the point has been made. I'm going to ask you to not repeat the sentiment. So for those of you who have your hands up and that's what you're going to talk about, please put your hand down because this is a time we want to hear from as many different perspectives as we can. Atul, your hand is up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to express that I will not be voting in favor of the report. And I will document my reasons in a separate document.
Thank you, Atul. Rel?
Sort of a process question, just based on what Michael said, just about the process in general. Will there be a chance for the SAC, you know, because this isn't showing any sort of priorities when it comes to funding, will there be an opportunity for the SAC to come back after the county has done some of the work that Michael has described to see, you know, it to sort of share approval or input on sort of a more final product?
Holly, let me jump in real quick. On what Michael is asking and what Brel just asked. Well, I'll be covering just to frame it up at the end of this meeting about the implementation plan. There is going to be opportunities over the next months for input. So we will talk about that in a minute when we're done with this motion.
Thank you very much, Barry. Marty, you're up.
I did just want to point out the Appendix N and reference to it in the report, because that lists the chart of funding resources that are out there and it's a pretty nice document that Kathy and Tyler put together, and it points the way toward funding very many of the recommendations that are in the report.
Great. So everybody, when you get a chance, you can take a look at that. And thank you to Kathy and Tyler for taking the time to put that together. I know that was a lot of work, and I know we're all going to appreciate it. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Yes. So Paul. I think you're muted.
Sorry, I'll be very brief. I appreciate all the work done throughout the year. People have taken lots of hours, not in the meeting, before or after the meetings, to make their input. This is a huge project, huge sides of it. And we can, if we can accomplish parts of it and continue to work on these over time, that would be a great accomplishment for our community and great example of how community can cooperate on such a large subject and a project and bite at it and make it happen a piece at a time. It cannot happen all at the same time. I'm sorry, but that's where we are. We are making very significant steps in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Satpal. Arlene, I'll take one more comment. Go ahead.
You know, apropos what Satpal has just said, I have listened to the sentiment of this community, and I can tell you that if the proposal for implementation does not address what the public has been asking for in the sufficient size, then those of us who have been working for a year on these plans will not even vote for this bill. You need to take it seriously, that the costs are very great and that we expect the administration to attend to that and perform at the level that we are recommending.
Thank you, Arlene. You know, I just really appreciate how much experience has been in the room throughout this process, how much passion has been in the room, and how well you have listened to each other. And the time for our discussion has now come to a close. You've done a marvelous job, and I'm going to call for the vote. The motion is to approve the Justice Project Needs Assessment Report to present to County Council. That's the motion on the floor. Please raise your hands if you are in agreement with that proposal.
We're at 24.
We're at 24. Thank you very much. And everybody, Kathy will put your hands.
25, just another one came in.
25. Thank you, Darren. Okay, hands are down. And now all those in opposition to the motion. All right, so 2 opposed and three opposed to the motion. Thank you. And then hands down, any abstentions? Cliff, I don't know if you were voting to oppose or to abstain. Okay, I think we just have 1 abstention then. Whew. Okay, the motion carries. You have now approved the needs assessment. Congratulations. Woo! My goodness, what a year it's been. You guys did great. And I appreciate everybody's integrity with voting with what they felt was right. That was the right thing to do. And we're moving on. Get here now about the next steps. Okay, Barry, I believe this is you. Yeah.
All right, great work, everybody. Again, it was a long year, but it was a year that went fast in a lot of other ways. So thank you all for your participation. We have started to frame up the implementation plan. We're really looking at the needs assessment as a super valuable roadmap, how we do this. So we're segregating the work into the same kind of buckets we did with the report, and that's with the general categories of systems, services, facilities, and we've added a 4th, which is funding. We're going to be having a series of workshops in the spring between now and May. There's going to be 4 workshops. There's going to be a town hall, general town hall before an ordinance comes to the council in May. But that's what we'll be working on, excuse me. Your SAC planning team is going to transition into the implementation as the implementation team. So we're going to stay together, the band will, and we're going to bring the administration on board, of course, and Tyler's been with us all along anyway. So we'll be getting ready to present something to the council formally in May, on May or early June, I would say, about where exactly what kind of a ballot measure we would have. So we appreciate all the work, and we got a lot left to do, but we're definitely going to keep everybody involved. And so we will keep your contact information available for when we start reaching out to put together focus groups and workshops and things, because all your knowledge and experience that you've gained both in your careers and here in this last year is so valuable. So anyway, good job again. And Holly, are we ready to adjourn, or do we have anything left?
Just go back 1 slide. Did everybody catch the very specific next steps for those dates?
Oh yeah,
Right.
I wanted to go through some of the hard dates. I don't know what this one is, but this is the where we're going to present the outline as a kind of a rehearsal type situation next week. Then on the 7th, the presentation to County Council. The County Council will have a couple weeks to digest the plan. We're going to have a resolution that may include some of the strategy around the implementation. And then this is already underway, but it's going on in parallel with these things. So we're just so much appreciate all the work that we're able to fold into how we implement this going forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for folks, if you remember on the last poll, if you'd said yes, you would be willing to help, that January 30th, make sure you get that on your calendar. I don't remember what time it is. Kathy or Marty, do you remember the time? I can look.
It's at 1 o'clock on Monday.
And I'll be sending out an Outlook calendar and invite directly following this meeting to all SAC members.
Yeah, so thank you for those folks who volunteered to just make sure we really got our ducks in a row for that presentation. Really appreciate it. And we'll move to the next slide. This is our closing moment. We came together. We've been working over the course of the year with very different opinions. And like I said, I think people did an awesome job of really leaning in to try and understand each other and showed up with just a lot of, yeah, just the willingness to have your mind changed is such a cool thing to watch. We've worked really hard to put together all the background and content here. So I want to give a little shout out to Jennifer Moon, who's here. Jennifer, you just, oh my gosh, you have really done an awesome job. And of course, to the planning team who's been meeting every week. So Stephen and Jack and Barry, just trying to make sure we got all the pieces together and all of our presenters so that we have the content there. And especially to Jill and Kathy for helping keep all the, all the notifications that have to go out, holy moly. And now we're going to put it to life, make it come to life, take it a step at a time. This is a big picture. This is a long range thing. So it is not going to happen tomorrow, obviously, but we have now a direction that I think really reflects an incredible amount of wisdom. So I hope that all of you are just as proud of yourselves as I feel for this group. I think you've just really knocked it out of the park. So we're going to close out. We have a little time here, and I'd love to give everybody a chance to speak briefly to their experience, just to have a sense of closure, what you'd like to share about your experience of the process, your hopes for what is to come, appreciations for other folks in the room, or what you learned. Just so anything you'd like to share now, just maybe a minute a person. And I'll, if we take down the screen, I'll call on you and you get your chance. Okay. If you don't want to speak, you can just say thank you and I'll move on. So, yeah. And if you raise your hand, you get to go when you raise your hand. So Atul, go ahead.
I just wanted to express my appreciation for the work that David Goldman did for me as a volunteer. He's a true MVP because he allowed us to get some data on the actual people that are affected by the incarceration system. I hope a lot more of that happens over the next many years. And I really want to applaud that because he did that all on his own time. And it was a real benefit to my understanding. So thanks.
Thanks, Atul. Appreciate that. Yeah, Mary Lou.
Unmute. I just want to say this is a very complex problem that we're dealing with, and it is a very, very important for the safety of our community and for the betterment of the victims and the people incarcerated that we solve this problem and try and convince the people of Whatcom County that we're working in the long range best interests of them to make this happen. And everybody who's added all of their comments and their time, I hope this all has a positive outcome and that we can all be very happy for our community. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Bill?
I was going to say the first meeting I attended in Whatcom County was in 1996 when a Blue Ribbon Committee identified a dire need to replace the jail. And here we are many years later. So I just want to express my appreciation on behalf of the people that work in the facility every day, on behalf of the people that we have housed in the facility, and on behalf of the community that's affected by crime due to the lack of space in the facility. Thank you. And special thank you, Holly, for facilitating, and Barry for your leadership in pulling this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Who's next? Okay, I'm going to start calling on you. Let's see. Let's hear from Brooke. What would you like to share as your closing comments?
Well, I was trying to think of what to say. I was kind of hoping I had a little bit longer to think about it. As someone who this is the first committee that I've been on, and I have not had very much experience in working with government, I found this to be a pretty frustrating experience, actually. with the processes and things, like I said, it was my first experience, so knowing how things were going to go and how things were going to be decided, I felt kind of railroaded by the whole thing, like decisions were made before I even realized we were making them. So if I were to make any sort of recommendation for a committee like this, again, where you do call for people in the community who aren't members of a government, that you do a better job of explaining how things are going, if that makes sense. Yeah, so thank you for your time, and yeah.
Thanks, Brooke. Appreciate that. Yeah, Erica.
Thanks. I thought I'd take matters into my own hands instead of wait for you to call on me, Holly. Just want to start by thanking you, because this has been a long process. It's really hard to do big group process via Zoom. It's really, really hard. And you've kept it all together. So thank you. And thank you to Barry as well. And of course, Perry, for the wonderful work around the BGAT, which was very helpful to us. I guess it's occurring to me that ultimately this can't be everything to everyone, and the fact that there's a lot of work happening in coordination with this, with our behavioral health fund and the new Healthy Children's Fund, that this can be one component, but it's not going to solve every problem. It hopefully will solve the jail infrastructure problem, but there's a lot of need. And so I just want to caution with expectations of what this can be and how much impact it can have. I certainly hope it has some impact, but we have a lot of challenges, and I think we have probably $50 million in asks per year in this package, and it's going to be a lot less, which is the reality of what we're working with. But looking forward to seeing how that can braid with all the other initiatives and programs and services that we have.
Thank you very much. And I want to just also acknowledge the value of dreaming big. Like I said, I just finished a big watershed plan, and restoring a watershed is a big project costing unbelievable quantities of money. But when you have a community of people who care about it and have their eye on the prize and are continuing to learn, there's every reason to be optimistic. So I totally agree. And I would say, let's just keep going. So let's see, who's next? Kendra.
My impromptu 1-minute speech feels like I'm at Toastmasters. First of all, Holly, thank you so much, because you herded cats very well. That's herded, Herding, herded cats very well amongst this and maintained everything in a timely, efficient manner. And that's very appreciative. You kept the meeting on time. You ended it on time as best to your abilities, and you made sure that conversations were appropriate. And that I really appreciate that about you. Thank you for doing that. I also want to thank Tyler Bird. His presentations were fantastic, and it brought an eye-opening, non-biased information that he had about the jails and what the needs were for that. It was clearly written, and it really does show the need for the new jail. And I think that information was paramount to me. And I just wanted to say, and also to Barry too, I want to thank you for reaching out separately to help with information with our so-called coffee for an extra Zoom meeting, so that your extra effort was very appreciative. So everyone here that wanted to be a part of something, they really helped out, and they reached out, and they went above and beyond. And that is what I think this group is all about. And so for everybody, not mention names, but everybody, I just want to say thank you. It was a good experience overall, and I hope that this passes. And I've been able to change my mind on a couple of things by listening to everybody speak, and I'm able to learn more because of everybody speaking. So this was a big adjustment, and I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Kendra. And I think you meant Tyler Schroeder, right? The presentation?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Tyler Schroeder, not Tyler Bird. Yes.
I gotcha.
Yes, Tyler Schroeder. Yes.
Okay. Peter.
Oh, I like to say thank you particularly for the facilitation. It was excellent. You guys did a great job. The leadership team also did a good job. I found this process really frustrating and difficult at times, but always interesting, and always everybody came to the table and with good spirit, and that's fantastic. I think we have a very aspirational document here, I think it's appropriate to the community. I echo Erica's what she said. This is a very, we're not going to get everything that's in this document, but I appreciate having a roadmap, and it says a lot. We really need a jail with an excellent behavioral health unit, and that's what I really want to focus on in the next year. And I'm very interested in how we bring about all the other things that we intend in this aspirational document. So thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, I agree with some of the comments said already. I do hope that the short-term goal is passing of the bond a year from now. So we're all sitting in wherever we're sitting a year from now, knowing that we have a new jail plan on the horizon. And I hope we can all band together for that common goal, because I think there's a lot of common things in here that we all want to do. I agree it's aspirational, a bit idealistic in my mind, because I don't know where all the money's coming from. But it is a roadmap for the future, and we need to use that and then determine what's best for our community. But I think the overarching need is a new jail. If you haven't been to the old one, you need to go. It's deplorable. We need a new jail, and so we all have to band together for that purpose for the next 9-10 months.
Thank you, Scott. Let's see, Cliff, would you like to go?
Yeah, I guess I also found it frustrating. As I've said in the past, I worked for the Sheriff's Department for 27 years. Part of that was in jail, part of it was on patrol. I felt like I had some knowledge of what was needed. But when I raised things, it didn't seem like anybody really wanted to discuss it. So I felt frustrated in that regard. There's been a lot of committees, as Bill has mentioned, that have looked at this in the past, and a lot of studies, and the jail planning task force that met for quite some time. They had some good ideas, and we didn't look at anything that the previous committees had done or said, and that was kind of frustrating to me. The National Institute of Corrections has said things, and we didn't talk about any of that. We didn't actually talk about a size, and I'm thinking that because if we get it in a certain place, it'll limit the size, and that's what we want because people want a small jail. I disagreed with that. But anyway, I thank you, Holly, for your leadership and your implementation of what's gone on. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Cliff. Okay, let's see. Arby, do you want to go?
I really actually enjoyed this process, and I want to start by thanking Barry and County Council and Holly and everybody who's made this come together. I don't think anybody ever thought self-governance was going to be easy, and so while it might not be perfect and it might be how the sausage is being made, now the weight of our work falls upon County Council to do something. And I think for all of us here, it's time to really start letting the community know, because I think we need a new jail. And I think as people in Whatcom County understand the current situation, I have very little doubt that they're going to get hung up on a few dollars here, a few dollars there. I think that's the minutia of it. What this is about is how do we take care of the people that we are incarcerating, 98%, I believe, of which are pre-trial. So again, I'm very grateful for having been in the conversation and thankful for everybody here.
Thank you, Arby. All right, Michael.
I really appreciate the range of viewpoints represented here, which is why in particular I was so encouraged to see the significant amount of agreement on major components. And I want to focus on that. I never expected 100% consensus. 80% consensus is like golden in the real world. So I think we can agree on kind of like the major values and principles, which is we want to reduce crime and reduce the need for the jail, but then have the jail there when we need it. I think there's agreement on that. For the most part, 80%. And that, like I said, that's a remarkable achievement. So I'm encouraged that we could get that much agreement given the diversity of people here.
Thank you, Michael. Stark.
Yeah, I haven't been involved in this process as long as Bill has, but I was involved in the discussions regarding the jail back in, I think, 2010, 2011, when it first went to the vote. And you know, I think what I'm encouraged by most at this point is the change in perspectives and attitudes relative to people who are charged with crimes. I can say, with, even though I wasn't involved in the building of the current jail, that little or no consideration went into the humanity of how we treat people who are incarcerated. And that's why we have the facility that we have. In 2010, 2011, the public defender's office was invited to speak, but it was clear to me that our perspectives weren't taken seriously and weren't really incorporated into the plan. And what I find different now is that all of you have listened to those of us who are mired in the system, and I'm encouraged by the fact that we not only want a facility that will house people that need to be there, but that we are looking at other alternatives and behavioral health processes and things that will assist these people to get back on their feet and perhaps contribute to society. So I mean, it's been an evolution over the decades, it seems to me, and I think that we're in a good spot at this point, and you should all be commended for that.
Thank you, Stark. Okay, Arlene.
I'm debating what I want to say because I am, up to this point, all this period of time, I have been filled with hope and excitement for the coming changes that I can see we finally have an opportunity to plan for and make happen. But in the statement of the county executive, I finally heard what the attitude is towards the actuality of these changes. And it hit me really, I have to say, it hit me really hard, because this isn't just about a jail. It's about a jail that we want to change its entire perspective on the whole business of criminal justice. That's really what we're talking about. This is not for a jail. This work is not for a jail. We want a good jail because it's part of a good justice system. But what we want is for people to be able to avoid any kind of involvement with criminal justice whatsoever. And when I hear that the most powerful person in our community is going to take an attitude of, you can have this, but you'll get that a little later, and that a little later, and that a little later. This is our opportunity to raise funds for services for mental health, addiction, all kinds of family treatment. We have people running hither and yon, not able to access care, and they get into trouble, into the justice system, which is ridiculous that should even happen. So we're asking to make serious and important changes, and it's equally important to the jail. And so I don't know the figures, but I suspect that they are pretty equal. And if I'm wrong, fine. But the main thing is that I want to see this work put off. I was speaking to you, Satpal, so I'm sorry that you weren't here to hear what I had to say.
It's okay. Hey, Arlene, your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
So I just really want to reflect how important that whole system changes, and you've spoken that really eloquently. And I think when people speak, we always have to just double check, double check that we've heard them. So, Paul, would you like your turn? Might be a perfect time.
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry, I had to step out. There was something else going on. I hear Arlene's perspective, and I very much appreciate. I just want to say that I'm very passionate about this cleaning up the whole system. I am very, very passionate about my whole purpose of coming to this position, becoming county executive, was not to get a job. Anything I have looked at in the last 3 years is what is a long-term solution to our problems of our community. And this changing the criminal justice system, just in Whatcom County alone, we have limited powers to do that, but we can make substantial changes, which we are. And this whole discussion, when we started, when I was on the council and started now, it is all about poverty. It's all about, like, why did America has come in 40 years? Sorry, I do that because I'm an immigrant. I look at America in a very different way. Why a richest country on the earth has a drug problem? Why the richest country in America has issues that our youth, our future, our own future, the kids who are going to look after us are going stray because we are on a wrong pathway. But this is not a domain of Whatcom County or any one county or one city or even our state to fix that. But we have made an effort to understand what the issues are. The issues are not the jail, the issues are our society. How rotten it has been happening over 40 years. I was a young kid when I came in here and I saw the deterioration. And you know, to say that we as a microcosm of the whole thing hold the solution to the whole thing, we hold a solution to our community. And my commitment, and everybody's listening, my commitment is that we need to transform the system. When I say that we need to prioritize, we have affordability issue. If we can put a $2,000 per person tax in Whatcom County, we can do that, but still we will not be able to change our criminal system. We not be able to change our whole justice system starting from Whatcom County. We don't have that ability. It's not that we are not willing or I'm not willing. All I'm saying is that I want to go as far as the community wants to go. And as long as we are willing to sacrifice for this thing, but our abilities are limited. I am just being a realist and saying, let's do whatever 5 things. Scott, I remember Scott said this thing, that why don't we put some kind of priorities on this thing and put phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I don't think that just building the jail will solve this criminal justice issue. Just jail is not even the issue. If we say per se, it's the building, it's disgusting, it's inhumane place. The very people we are advocating for are rotting in our system. And at least we can do that is fix. That's one little thing. And my appeal is that let's start taking those steps and do 2, 3, 4, 5 steps what we can, but we cannot take all 25 steps to fix the system. I am disappointed at why our country is there. Do we have a solution for that? Yes, we do. We go solve world's problems. We give $40 million away in overnight. We are sending this assistance. We cannot give assistance to our own citizens. You think mental health problem is not solvable in America? It is solvable. That's not our national priority. You think
Thank you.
drug war for 40 years?
Mhm.
Drug war, what it's done, it's increased the drugs. And we all paid for it. Happily.
Yeah.
But that's not what I wanted to talk about. Sorry, I get on this rant and do this because I just wanted to clarify where my passion is. But at the same time, when you sit on this seat and you have to deal with everything, it comes through this desk. And we have to make good on that homelessness.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Sub.
Thank you. I just wanted to show my passion is, Arlene, with you. We need to fix the whole system, but it has to be a bite at a time. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you clarifying it. And I appreciate your passion and commitment. Okay, we are going to go ahead again with about 1 minute per person. And I'm just loving hearing everybody's closing comments. And Perry, you're up.
Thanks, Holly. A lot of what other folks have said certainly rings true for me. I'm excited about, because it's my background in focus, I'm excited about the behavioral health component amongst so many other very important aspects of the work in the criminal justice process and the effects on individuals. It's amazing, truly, to be a part of this. I have some professional background in working in incarceration settings and providing behavioral health services that were extremely effective in at least getting folks oriented towards receiving some services or actually providing those services in the setting. I think that's a really wise move on the part of the community. So really appreciate and feel privileged to have been a part of this. So thanks so much. And thank you for the work that you've done, Holly, and for Marty, calling me and talking with me about walking me through some stuff as well. Just really appreciate your guys' efforts. And of course, Barry as well. Huge lift and impressive from my perspective.
Right. Oh, I think we just lost Stephen. Did we just lose Stephen? Oh, he told me he had to leave at 11:40. Oh, I know he would have said something amazing here. Okay, Stephen, we'll just have to get it in writing and, videotape you or something. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's hear Brian. Let's hear from you. What would you like
Not
to share?
much to add. Really just wanted to thank everyone for their participation, and I have a lot of gratitude for the input that went into the creation of the report, and look forward to the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Heather, closing comments?
I'm traveling, so I'll submit mine in writing. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for getting here for the thrilling conclusion. Did you know we passed it? Did you catch that?
I'm catching on, and congrats. That's great.
Right on. Okay, Doug, you're up.
I just want to echo what the sheriff said. This is obviously a issue that impacts public safety. It impacts members of our community that find themselves in jail, to include their families. It also impacts our employees that have to work in that facility day in and day out. So certainly I appreciate the thoughtful consideration and insight from the various perspectives of the members of the SAC. And I'm encouraged by seeing a lot of movement from, it used to be a services or a jail. And I see the conversation has shifted to people realizing it's an and, it's not an or. And we need to do more in our community for behavioral health services to keep people out of the criminal justice system. But we also need to have an adequate facility for those folks that find themselves there with the behavioral health services, that we can still help them stabilize while they're there, realizing hopefully it's short term. And then when they re-enter the community, there's also folks and services there to have that warm handoff so that they can transition and hopefully not be reincarcerated in a short period of time. So thank you for everyone. Thank you, Councilmember Buchanan, for your leadership, and Holly for your guidance and facilitation.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah, Wendy.
pretty much echoing what most of other folks have said. One of the things I really, really appreciate, this is a very diverse group of people, which is terrific because you get a lot of ideas and points of view. One thing I've appreciated, it kind of echoes what the undersheriff had said, in that I'm starting to hear, as I'm listening to the group, probably a bigger understanding that it doesn't have to be a bifurcated system, and that for a lot of people, the jail actually becomes a point of engagement, that we can get people helping to recognize that they have some issues and direction as far as where to get help. And that's a fundamental shift for a lot of folks. It's that shift in the community and for lots of folks that I talk to. So I very, very much appreciate the openness and willingness to kind of consider that as a possibility. So thank you, everybody. And Holly, I think that you and your team get a huge gold star. I don't know that I would have been able to pull off anything as organized and gracious as y'all have been. So thank you.
Thank you. So we have two SAC members. I think one of them maybe is Kristen. I know she got. So if you want to rename yourselves, the two folks, and then Harriet, did you go? I don't think you went. Did you go?
I'm still here, and no, I haven't.
Would you like to? Would you like your turn? Great, go ahead.
So first of all, Holly, you were a master at facilitating a large group process. My hat is off to you. You did a phenomenal job. I've always wondered how that gets done, and it was excellent. So I, as you know, just about what everybody else said, I really appreciated the breadth of the focus. People from different parts of the community, professionals, people not necessarily intimately involved with these systems, et cetera. And it was really helpful to hear what everybody had to say and to watch the process and watch people shift and change and listen to each other and all of that. I too am really grateful that there's such a focus on behavioral health services. They're so critical in all of this. When you talk about root causes of incarceration, that gets so wide-ranging and so complicated. And I think it's going to be important to kind of chunk off what we know, what we really know, what we really have a little more control over, and put some effort into that. I appreciate the background work that everybody did. Clearly, a ton of work behind the scenes. And I would second the people that are talking about prioritizing the work that needs to be done. It's going to be really critical to have phases and to have them chunked out financially and operationally, and make sure that the community understands that there's a commitment to doing all of the work, even if it can't all be done at once. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate being invited to participate.
Oh, thank you so much, Harriet. Okay, let's see, who else do we have? Bro.
Yeah, I just really want to echo the gratitude that's been expressed. Really, lots of gratitude to the leadership team and the facilitation team. I think that it is really impressive, the level of consensus that was reached on visions and goals. And I really felt like getting as close to consensus as possible was really prioritized by the facilitation team. So really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope that you know, the things that we have gotten the most consensus on, which are the visions and goals around incarceration prevention and reduction, are the litmus test for whatever is put forward in front of voters. And yeah, I just riffing off of what Harriet just said, I just so strongly believe that even though it's really hard and complex, doing in-depth analysis of root causes is the only way to really fundamentally reduce and reduce and prevent incarceration. So I really hope that there will be ways to really prioritize that with all decision making. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, Deborah. Are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah, I just want to thank you, Holly, Marty, Barry, and everybody that on the team that did such a great job. I want to say that I really deeply appreciate what Sapal shared. To me, he shared some of what is like a deeper dive into, you know, the end result of having jails in the first place. And I think that the team, the SAC committee, was really quite successful in collaborating with each other, and sometimes, especially with such a large group, it can be rather difficult to work collaboratively. But I think, albeit there were some obstacles and frustrations, in the end, it all was very successful. And I'm grateful that because of this committee forming, I believe that it will have a really positive impact on our Whatcom County citizens who will be voting on the new jail, when they see that there has been a diligent effort to try to come up with a plan that represents what our voters wanted in the first place when the whole issue of a new jail came up. So I think it's going to make a huge difference in this passing and not passing. Thank you for everything, everybody.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, Kristen.
I've really grown to appreciate this group and all of the work that's gone into even discussing these hard issues. It's been an honor to be a part of this group, and I appreciate it. So thank you all. It's amazing that these conversations are even happening around a topic that is really not an easy topic to look at when you dig down into it. We're working with groups of people that are the most despised in our community, and this work is, I mean, how we respond to that is important. It reflects on what kind of a society that we are ultimately. So yeah, just let's all keep up the good work. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Okay, so Jennifer, did you want to say anything before we close? We're going to just have the last couple of folks here. You don't have to. Just glad you're here.
Yeah, I just, for all the experts who lent their expertise and responded to emails so quickly, that was tremendously helpful. So thank you for everyone who helped us pull everything together.
Great, thank you. I think I got everybody. So
Molly, I just want to say I didn't mean to come off like they're just like the people we're working with are so despised, period. Not at all. I didn't want to leave you with that impression that I think that at all. But I'm just saying that sometimes it's hard to come in and stick up for the most disenfranchised person in that moment. And so anyway, I wanted to make that clear. All right, thanks.
Totally came across that way, and good. You always good to double check, right? Language is limited. Okay, I want to then the only people we have left, I believe, are first. I want to just say, invite my colleague Marty Solomon to speak, who really, although I accept and appreciate and am humbled by the appreciation that you've all offered the facilitation, it really is a team effort, because it's equally because of Marty's work that we've been able to pull this off, and she is a marvel. And I feel so lucky for having gotten to work with her, because it couldn't have happened with the way it did without you, Marty. So I just wanted that, and What would you like to say to close?
Thank you for that. And back at you. We would not be here without you. And I just, I'm kind of the behind the scenes gal, you know, I get to talk with you and work with you. I've gotten to work with people more individually and in some of the subcommittees. And I am just blown away by your expertise. I feel super grateful to be, have been part of a group where I can just learn so much from all of you. And also just grateful for your time that you kept showing up and put so much into this work. And it shows, I think, in the final product. I hope you're all proud of it. And I'm very excited for the next parts of this work to see it through, you know, see it be implemented. And I also just want to thank the planning team. It's an ongoing pleasure to work with such wonderful, wonderful colleagues. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Barry, you're last but not least, our illustrious chair of this committee on its final day. The floor is yours.
Well, you know, we're going to have a reunion probably. So it just has been so wonderful to work with you all. You know, I can think back when we first passed this resolution. You realize this resolution was first passed in 2019. And the council, when we got to the end of the night, it was a long night. And we just said, we're going to appoint everybody that applied. And that's what we ended up doing. And the council said, good luck with that. And because it was, you know, it was 30 some people. And you know what? Y'all proved it could be done. And Holly, of course, you've just kept us so focused. And it's been such a pleasure to work with you and Marty, and then Jack and Stephen on putting this all together. But I want to also mention Kathy Halka from our council office has been just super valuable, making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and making sure communication is going out to you. And then Jill Nixon from our council office as well, who takes care of the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force. She worked really hard to coordinate between the two bodies to get all those extra meetings we had with those co-chairs of the subcommittees from the task force. So it was a big lift, and we pulled it off, folks. And I want to wish you good luck and in the weeks to come. And the first meeting of the implementation team is today at 3:30. So, you know, we're not skipping a week even. So we'll be talking to you later. We are adjourned.
Yay! Woo!